Hi ladies, and welcome to another video. Today's topic is going to be a little bit different, and I want to introduce you to a new idea I've been toying with for a couple of months and have finally kind of built some structure around that I think will really help you in your studies. So as you may know, if you've been here for a while, for the last couple of years or so, I've been doing monthly faith goal updates where I talk you through what I've been doing in the Word each month and things like that. And that's been working fine for me. It's a way to kind of hold me accountable. However, I have been feeling a little bit kind of like the time has been a bit unstructured. Like I'm not really sure what I want to be studying and what I want to be doing in the Word each month. And I kind of either just have a really long-term plan, like highlight an entire Bible or read through it in chronological order, for example. But I kind of want to do things that are a bit more structured and that give me something to focus on. So I know what I'm aiming for and I'm not just reading, for example. I actually want to be doing some deeper study and kind of spreading myself across the entire Bible rather than just focusing on one small book at a time, you know? So I've been thinking, like, how can I do that? Like, what ways can I kind of try and study the entire Bible almost, but also have structured time and kind of like a syllabus? I really wanted a structure, like, for example, being in Bible college. What would that be like? Now, I don't want to enroll in a Bible college. I don't have the time or the commitment to fully enroll in a proper course, but I figured I could always design my own, right? What's stopping me from designing my own Bible curriculum? And then I realized I have free will and there's nothing stopping me from designing my own Bible curriculum. And that's what I've done. And so I kind of want to talk you through what I've done and how maybe you could design your own Bible curriculum based on a topic of your interest, for example. And that will give you some structured guidance of what to be doing in the Word. If ever you're kind of like me, you're just floating through and you're just reading it over and over again, and you kind of want to go a little deeper or have something with a bit more structure. So you know, right, I'm going to work on this now. This is what I'm going to be studying now. And in the grand scheme of things, it's for an overall picture of what you want to delve deeper into. So I think the best way for me to explain this is to actually show you what I've done. And I've chosen to do it on Notion. I see the hype now. I do see the hype. I tried it out and I've tried a lot of these programs. They didn't stick. But Notion is working for me. I like it. And I'm just on the free plan and it's really, really good. Now, there's nothing stopping you from doing this in a binder or a paper copy, of course. But for me, just designing it all, Notion helped. And I've actually already started my program and I'm just going to complete all my assignments and my research within Notion as well, because then I don't have to have paper everywhere. I just don't have the space for more binders and paper, unfortunately. Having it all digital is working, and then I can work across different devices as well with Notion. So yeah, love it. So let's just show you what I've been working on and what I'm going to be researching and what you can expect to see in my monthly updates from now on, because I'm going to be focused on my own Bible curriculum for the foreseeable future. So let me reposition you so you can see my screen a bit better and I'll show you what I'm doing. So here is my curriculum and what I'm working on. I'm hoping you can see okay. I do have a curved screen, so it might not be perfectly straight, but this is what I have always wanted to study. It's the biblical culture curriculum. So what I've always wanted to do is go into being what it was like as an ancient Israelite at that time and what life was like, because that's who the Bible was written for. And so they would have been expected to understand all of the daily life and culture, agriculture and farming, and what politics and power was like and how that worked, religion and worship in that time, the language and the symbols that were often used, what happened in the intertestamental period in those 400 silent years. I want to look into that as well. And then I've got a section for any assignments I might do. So these are the 5 areas that I want to work on as part of my own Bible curriculum. So I'm in Bible college now, my own Bible college, and I want to delve into what life was like in these 5 areas. So I'll take you right in and you can have a look at what kind of topics I'm going to be looking at within each of these. So within daily life and culture, I've now got my meso units. So we've got macro, meso, and then micro. So these are the 5 sections within the daily life and culture that I want to look at. So we've got agriculture and seasons. So what was the farming stuff like? Like, what did they do and how did it all work? I want to understand it all properly. All about ancient households. What was family life like? What did they do every day? Food laws and purity and all that stuff. clothing and symbols, and money and trade. So that's all within daily life. And then within those meso units, you delve one deeper, and then I've got my micro units. So these are all the things within just this one unit. I am just shocked. There's just so much to learn about cultural life, isn't it? It's just crazy. So within agriculture alone, I've got all these headings. So all about land cultivation, harvest cycles, the feasts that are tied to the harvest cycles, seasons and weather, all about gleaning, threshing floors, vineyards, locusts, the pests, the tools they use, shepherding, everything. I want to go into all of that. Okay, so I have started, I've finished one class already on land cultivation, so I'll show you what I do within each of these sections. So if you click on that, what I've got here is basically some questions. So if I go to one that I haven't completed yet, for example, these are the questions that I give myself on every unit. So it's basically the same across each one. I follow the same structure, but the thing that changes is obviously the research I do. So I've got, what are these harvests? So I'll do some research. I've got a space for links here where I will put links to resources that I find on the topic. I'll list them all in that toggle. I want to look at, what are they? Who did them in everyday life? What are the Bible verses connected to them? What's the symbolism? Any historical or archaeological notes of things that they found related to it? And then I've got my own personal study questions and personal reflection as well for each section. So this is what I've just repeated for each one, but I'll show you a completed one. So this is kind of what I've done. So here I've got all my links and resources and personal notes that I've written based on my research. And then I just filled in the answers. So I did research and then I basically presented the answers. And this is my way of like doing an assignment while I'm researching. So I've learned all about what the lowlands are and the highlands and what food was ideal for this type of agriculture because of the weather and the type of soil, what the dry desert land was like and who lived there and what they did. And then different types of cultivation. So the ploughing, the sowing, the reaping, threshing, winnowing, what the fallow ground is and all this stuff. Different tools. Again, this is just the overview section, so there's a bit more covered. The tools, and then I answered questions. Who did this in daily life? What was the social economical impact of this? And then I've got all my Bible references, not every single one, but for the main ones that I found. So I've got just a list of them here and a little brief explanation of what each verse is, but then I have a whole separate page where I go into a bit more detail, and this is where I kind of did more of my research and notes. So here you can see I've split it up into Old and New Testament. So I've got the same thing that I had in the other section with the explanation, and then in pink italics I put the actual verse. And then sometimes, not in all of them, but sometimes if I feel that it needs a bit more explanation, I will put an explanation in blue underneath. Some of them are really straightforward and what they mean. Okay, reaping and sowing, like, it doesn't really need a lot of explanation, but some of them I felt needed to go a bit deeper, like not ploughing ox and a donkey. Why is that important and what is that actually saying? I felt that needed a little bit deeper. So the ones in blue are the ones where I needed to reflect a bit more on the verse. And then I did the same with the New Testament. So that's just a separate page. And then I just noted some patterns and themes when I was studying these verses. And then I looked at the symbolism and theology and how it was used metaphorically. And then I did a bit of research into archaeological studies and things that they found. So they found ancient terraces of where they would plant olive trees and things on rocky mountains. And then things like their olive presses and their granaries and jars and things of where they stored food. So that was really interesting and fun to go through, see what historical evidence they have of this is as well. And then I gave myself some essay questions and I just answered these basically. So what does it reveal about, like, what does all this symbolism reveal about God's care, his justice and his kingdom? Personal reflections on how that deepened my understanding of the scripture. And what are some modern parallels? I feel like that's quite an interesting question because most of us don't have first-hand experience of farming and things now. So that's an important question for me to kind of help me understand it in our modern world. So what ways can we use similar analogies in modern terms? And then my own personal reflections. These will be different for each section. So for this one, I wanted to muse on what kind of land would I have wanted to live on, the lowland, the hills, or the desert, and why. And it just kind of helps me put myself into that time period of what life would have been like, and things that what I found most interesting to learn about as I was studying that unit. So yeah, that's just one section. I have got enough here to keep me busy for like a year, I think, so far, with all the things that I want to learn about. So I'm really excited about this. This is what I've always needed, I think. I need that structure and delving deep on topics I really wanted to learn about within the Bible. And I'm covering the whole Bible at once. I'm not just focusing on one book. I am picking everywhere. I'm going through the whole Bible, finding references to, in this context anyway, agriculture and seasons. So I've just started the harvest cycles now the other day, and that's what I'm working on now. So I'm learning all about the barley, the wheat, what time of year each one takes part in. That's so interesting for me to learn, and how it coincides with the festivals and the feasts that they have and why they have them. And then again, daily life. And I'm currently in the process of studying the Bible verses now. So I've collected them, and my next stage is to go through, read them all, and if I find any that I think need a bit more explanation or a bit more thought behind them, I will go through and write some notes underneath the ones that I feel need a bit more deeper reflection. So yeah, what I'm ending up with is a whole page of what I call research that is actually also considered an assignment, because I'm presenting my research in a way that I can just flick through it and remind myself of what I've studied, because it's very visual, and that's a great sort of like a cheat sheet for me. I can look at this and go, oh right, yeah, the fig harvest was around the summertime, and the barley came before the wheat, and all these things, and it just helps me have a visual of the information. And then eventually what I could do, what I'm thinking is, I've given myself an assignment section here. This doesn't have a page connected to it yet, but after I've done my studies, I could create one big assignment where I could do, I was thinking maybe like a video. I don't know if I'll post it on YouTube, for example, but I could present what I've learned about agriculture and all that whole section in a video. I'm not worried too much about that right now. At the moment, I'm in the research stages where I'm just finding out information and enjoying researching and presenting my research. To me, this is technically an assignment, it's all completed, but if I wanted to present it in a more creative way, then I can do that if I want to as well. I suppose it depends on my mood and whether I feel like I need to remind myself a bit more detail of what something is, if I could then create an assignment for it. So yeah, I'm really excited about delving into these and seeing what I'm going to learn. So this is what I've got in the politics and power. I want to look at all the empires, Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, the kingship, the Herods, the Roman law, crucifixion, within religion and worship, the temple versus the synagogue, sacrificial system, idols, festivals and calendar. And then language and symbols, I've got covenant rituals, shepherding, all the numbers and the symbols, not mystical things, but the numbers that have meanings, slavery and servanthood as well. And then the intertestamental, what was going on in those 400 years between the Old and New Testament. The Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, Zealots, they all came about in the New Testament, so what was happening in that period? Synagogue worship, apocalyptic hopes, end time stuff. And then Greek philosophy, Hebrew thought, just to help tie the Old and New Testament together. So yeah, there's so much here that I'm so excited to learn. I've literally built my own biblical culture curriculum. The things I've always wanted to learn about, I've picked up little bits here and there, but what a blessing to have it all in one collective place where I can access all my information and all my notes as well. I think this will really work for me and my learning style and what I need and what I want to be focusing on. So if you've ever thought about, I really want to learn about this whole thing, but I don't know where to start, I want to encourage you to start your own biblical curriculum. It's very doable. Just think of a theme, something you want to learn about, whether it's biblical culture, you want to learn a particular topic, like all about salvation, or you want to learn about historical evidence of everything mentioned in the Bible. I kind of touched on that in mine, but that's a whole other topic you can delve into. Whether you want to study eschatology, just end time stuff, whatever it is, you can do it. Pick a topic. You want one macro topic, which is the big pillar basically, and then within the macro you want to go into the meso, so break it down into medium sections, and then within that the micros. individual units within each meso section. Take your time, think about what it is you want to be studying, and then you can create it in Notion or whatever you want to do. You can do it on paper if you like. By no means are you limited. This is your curriculum. You get to design it. What do you want it to look like? How do you want to work? Do you want to work in paper? Would you rather have books? Then that's brilliant. Do that. For me, I'm more comfortable on digital, and I like looking at websites and things like that as my research rather than going through books and paper. Purely because, like, storage, I'm finding it difficult to store all the books and things, because I have seen a biblical culture book on Amazon that I've had in my basket for about a year, but I don't want to just study from one book. That's the thing. I wanted to get things from multiple sources, so that's the reason I've chosen just to go purely digital. But you do you. So what do you think of this idea? Is this something you're interested in doing, creating your own biblical curriculum? What would you like to focus on and learn about? How would you like to do it? And are you interested in keeping up with what I'm going to be doing? Because I do think this is what I'm going to be focusing on. Whether I share it or not, I don't know, but this is what I want to be doing every month now. So I don't have a strict timetable. Some people probably use calendars and things to say, right, I'm going to focus on this for an hour a day and then this. That's not personally how I like to work. I like to have a bit more freedom, but I do like the structure of knowing what to do next. That's what I was missing. For most of the part, I was like, I don't really know what I feel like doing in the Bible. I'm just going to read, I guess. I'll just highlight. And while it was good, I was still, in the Word and things. And this is what I've been missing. I wanted to actually learn and research and explore the Bible as a whole. And so that is what I'm doing. And I'm really excited about it. I've learned so much already about agriculture and farming. Like, these are things that you think, oh yeah, everyone kind of knows the basics. I didn't, honestly, I didn't. I don't really know this kind of stuff. I didn't know that the lowlands had the richer soil and it rained more, so it made it more suitable for the wheat and barley and things like that. And I didn't know that the hilly ground is good for the vines because they're really hardy plants and their roots have to go deep in the rocks to find moisture. They don't need an abundance of moisture in the ground like the wheat does, and that there's no frost zones up there, so it doesn't affect the plants. They get good sun and all this stuff. I didn't know that they had nomads in the dry land and the desert, and they just moved around just to feed their animals, and they just lived off their animals and all this stuff. Briefly knew a little bit about what reaping was, and I'd had to do research on winnowing once because I was reading it. I'm not really sure what the word meant, but seeing it in sequence and why they did what they did and why they were reaping and why that's used as such symbolic imagery, especially in the end times as well, for harvesting God's kingdom, it brings the Bible alive. Like, it makes sense, because if you think about it, these are the people who the Bible was written for. It was written with these parables and these metaphors because they would have understood this. It would have made perfect sense to them because this was their everyday life. I understand why this whole agricultural thing and ploughing is part of God's kingdom. They get it because they lived it. Whereas we're so far removed from this world now, we're not really involved in this part physically anymore. We don't really have the same connection to it. And so for me, I really wanted to study that so that I understood what they understood. I might not have first-hand experience, but at least I understand the process, the order of things, and it just makes the word come alive, because the amount of verses in scripture that relate to these kinds of things, like agriculture and all the other things that I'm going to be studying, is just mind-blowing, So yeah, the research aspect of it is so interesting, and writing your reflections as well is very powerful. This is very hard for me as someone who doesn't really write my thoughts or reflections or essays anymore. It's very important to fight the brain rot. It's just to sit and write an essay. Just write one down. Just think about the question, answer in a structured way, link to the word. So you'll see here I linked to the scripture when I was answering the question. I would find verses that I felt were good evidence of my point. And yeah, it's just really important. The longer time goes on, the more short-term concentration spans and these kinds of things. And I think it's important that we fight against that. And this is basically doing that. We are doing our own studying, we're taking our own course, and learning so much about the word as we do so. So excited to have a full, complete page of the things I've studied as well. I find that so valuable that I can just go back and refer to this if ever I need a reminder, or I've read something and I want to say, oh yeah, what was that again? I remember reading something about the figs, and then I can go here and study and remind myself what I learned and how that was relevant and what that metaphor means, you know. So that's basically it for this video. This is what I wanted to share with you, my Bible curriculum, what I'm going to be working on, and some tips if you wanted to start your own. Like, just hopefully just seeing how I've structured it and how I've laid it out might help you if you want to design your own Bible curriculum. There is just so much to learn. I think I'll be set for life with the amount of things I want to learn and study, and how long each section does actually take if you're doing it in detail. I think this will keep me busy for a long time, which is great because I've been a bit flowing here and there in the wind for such a long time about what I wanted to study. Even with reading plans, just tossed to and fro. That's a Bible verse, isn't it? And I'm tired of that. I really want to be working towards something, and something that is really going to help me understand the word. And I do believe this will. So yeah, that's it for now, really. Let me know your thoughts and whether this is something you're interested in. If you have any questions about my curriculum or how I've designed it or anything like that, drop them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them for you. And that's it for now. Remember, Jesus loves you. Lord willing, I'll speak to you soon. And until then, have a blessed day. Bye.